10th, 2022, 20 years old, Chiba Marines, Oryx Buffaloes. Roki Sasaki threw a perfect game with 19 strikeouts, tying the NPB record. 13 strikeouts in a row, a world record. Then, 1 week later, back and threw 8 more perfect innings before his manager pulled him to protect his arm. The world called him the monster of the Reiwa era. MLB scouts called him the next Ohtani. But behind the doors, whispering something else entirely, something nobody wanted to say out loud. 2025, when his fastball dropped from 100 miles per hour to 94, when his shoulder after just 8 starts, when he couldn't finish a single season healthy in 4 years, that whisper became impossible to ignore. This is the story of the most talented pitcher nobody knows what to do with. The 23-year-old phenom who signed with the Los Angeles Dodgers for just $6.5 million, a fraction of what he's worth, because he knew he couldn't wait. Scouts call his splitter the best secondary pitch in the world, an 80-grade offering, the kind of pitch you give up on before it even reaches the plate. But they also say something else. They say his body can't handle what his arm can do. They say every start is borrowed time. They say that for all the brilliance, all the strikeouts, all the hype, there's a clock ticking, and nobody knows when it runs out. Today we're telling you what MLB scouts are really whispering about Roki Sasaki, because the scary truth isn't what he can do, it's whether he'll ever get the chance. Let's go back to April 10th, 2022. Roki Sasaki takes the mound at 20 years old. He's already thrown 101 miles per hour in high school, breaking Shohei Ohtani's Japanese record. But NPB is different. This is professional baseball, and the Chiba Marines have been protecting him, sitting him for an entire season, limiting his starts. Today, they let him loose. First inning, 3 up, 3 down, all strikeouts. Second inning, same thing. By the 5th inning, nobody in the Oryx Buffaloes lineup has touched the ball. Perfect game territory. But Sasaki isn't just throwing strikes. He's obliterating hitters. Fastball at 100, splitter that falls off the table, hitters swinging through pitches they can't even see properly. 9th inning, final out, perfect game, 19 strikeouts, tying the NPB single-game record. But here's the part that made scouts stop breathing. 13 consecutive strikeouts, a world record, better than anything MLB had ever seen. 1 week later, Sasaki goes back out. 8 more perfect innings, 14 more strikeouts. His manager pulls him at 102 pitches, even though he's perfect. 17 consecutive perfect innings. The baseball world lost its mind, and MLB scouts started making calls. But one number kept coming up in those conversations. Not his velocity, not his strikeouts. His pitch count, 194 pitches in a single high school game, back when he was 17. 12 innings, 21 strikeouts, and scouts started whispering, his arm's on borrowed time. Before we talk about what scouts are worried about, you need to understand what they're dealing with. Because Roki Sasaki isn't just good. He might have the best stuff of any pitcher to come out of Japan, ever. The fastball up to 102 miles per hour. Averaged 98.8 miles per hour in 2023. Sits 96 to 100 with arm side run that makes it nearly impossible to square up. But it's not just velocity. It's movement. It's deception. It's the way it explodes out of his hand. The splitter. This is where it gets terrifying. Scouts call it an 80-grade pitch. For context, that's the highest grade you can give. Juan Soto is an 80-grade hitter. Aaron Judge has 80-grade power. Sasaki's splitter is that good. One scout told ESPN, it might be the best secondary pitch in the world. Another scout, when asked about it, said, King Nasty. James Dykstra, who played with Sasaki in Japan, called it the national pitch. He said, I stood behind the catcher in his bullpen early in spring training and said, oh my. The splitter sits 88 miles per hour, looks like a fastball, then just disappears, drops straight down. Catchers struggle to handle it. The rest, slider at 83 to 85 miles per hour with late vertical snap. Projects as a plus offering. Curveball at 80 to 81 miles per hour he uses to steal strikes. And now, a cutter he developed while rehabbing from injury. Scouts are in agreement on one thing. If Sasaki's body holds up, he's a number 1 starter, ace potential, future Hall of Famer. But that if is doing a lot of work. Before we get into what scouts are really worried about, do me a favor. If you love deep dive stories like this, the ones nobody else is telling, subscribe to Foul Ball and turn on notifications, because this story gets a lot more complicated. Here's the part. The highlight reels don't show you. Roki Sasaki has never thrown more than 130 innings in a professional season. Never. 2021, his rookie year, 11 starts, 63.1 innings. They were protecting his arm. 2022, the perfect game year, 129.1 innings. Then they shut him down. 2023, torn oblique, only 15 starts, 91 innings. 2024, shoulder fatigue, 18 starts, 111 innings. And then came 2025. Sasaki signs with the Dodgers in January for $6.5 million, a bargain bin price for a pitcher of his caliber. Why so cheap? Because he's under 25, which means international bonus pool rules apply. But there's another reason scouts whisper about. He knew he couldn't wait. One scout told reporters, if he felt 100% certain of his shoulder, it makes absolutely no sense to not pitch in Japan for one more year and then start asking for Yamamoto's $325 million. But Sasaki didn't wait. He signed immediately, for pennies on the dollar, and then 8 starts into his MLB career. Shoulder impingement, injured list. His velocity had already been dropping. Started the season hitting 100.5 miles per hour in Tokyo. By May, he was sitting 94 miles per hour. Some scouts saw him at 92.3. Manager Dave Roberts later revealed Sasaki had been pitching through shoulder discomfort and hadn't told anyone. He missed nearly 4 months, went on the 60-day injured list, did a lengthy rehab assignment. When he came back, the Dodgers didn't trust him as a starter. They moved him to the bullpen. And that's where the scary truth really lives. So, what are scouts actually whispering about Roki Sasaki? Let's start with what they told ESPN's Alden Gonzalez. One international scouting director said, he's as good as advertised. He has #1 upside. But then came the other part. Another scout said that's been one constant throughout his career. As good as he's been, as much as he's looked like one of the best pitchers in the world, he has not handled a workload we're accustomed to seeing from major league starters. Translation? His stuff is elite. His body is fragile. MLB teams don't just need guys who can dominate. They need guys who can do it 30 to 35 times a year, 180 to 200 innings, without breaking down. Sasaki's never come close. And here's what makes it even scarier. His best pitch, the splitter, is the hardest pitch on the arm. Splitters require extreme wrist snap and forearm stress. It's why most pitchers don't throw them as their primary weapon. Sasaki throws it constantly, and his arm keeps giving out. One scout, when asked about his future, said, the only source of concern is his health. Another said, durability. That's really the only thing there is to worry about. But here's the thing, nobody wants to say out loud. What if his body can't handle what his arm can do? What if the perfect game, the 19 strikeouts, the 80-grade splitter, what if all of it was his ceiling, not his floor? What if we've already seen the best version of Roki Sasaki? And it only lasted 17 innings. Blake Trinan, Dodgers reliever, veteran, guy who's seen it all, said something really important about Sasaki's first year. He said, you come over, you're young. You've got the weight of the world on your shoulders. It's not the easiest thing. I don't know if some of it is that, but I don't think it really matters at this point. I'm just grateful, because it's not easy for people to come out of where they're at. Sometimes that can wreck somebody. That last line is haunting. Sometimes that can wreck somebody. Think about what Sasaki went through in 2025. He was supposed to be the next Ohtani, the next Yamamoto, the next Japanese superstar. Instead, he started the year with a 4.72 ERA, walked 14.3% of hitters, got tagged for 5 runs by the Diamondbacks in 4 innings without recording a single strikeout. Then his shoulder gave out. Then he spent 4 months rehabbing, wondering if his career was over before it started. Tommy Edman, who faced him in live batting practice during spring training, said, his stuff looks really good, and I know it's going to play at this level, for sure. But looks really good and can stay healthy are 2 very different things. If you're still watching, you're the kind of fan who wants the truth, not just the highlights. Drop a comment. Do you think Sasaki's body will hold up? Or is this another tragic what-if story? September 2024. Roki Sasaki is in AAA Oklahoma City. He's been rehabbing for months. His mechanics are off. His confidence is shot. Nobody knows if he'll pitch again this season. The Dodgers send him to Rob Hill, their director of pitching, and Ian Walsh, their pitching performance coordinator. They do what they call the deposition. Hours-long question and answer session. Not just what hurts, but Was there anything a coach told you in 5th grade you still apply today? They break down his mechanics frame by frame. They find the problem. They rebuild his delivery. 3 days later, Sasaki takes the mound in AAA. Fastball, 98.3 miles per hour average, topped at 100.6. Splitter, dastardly. The Dodgers move him to the bullpen. Not because he can't start, because they can't risk losing him again. And in the playoffs, Sasaki becomes lights out. 3 saves, 1 earned run in 10.2 innings, closing games in the NLCS and World Series. Blake Snell said Sasaki pitched with more confidence out of the bullpen. But here's the part that scares scouts. Even in the playoffs, his fastball velocity dropped. Started at 99 to 100 miles per hour in the NLDS. By the World Series, he was sitting 98. After just 36 pitches in NLDS Game 4, his arm started showing fatigue. Andrew Friedman, Dodgers president of baseball operations, said after the World Series, "For us, it was about trying to get his delivery back." Translation? They fixed him. But they don't know if the fix will hold. So what happens next? The Dodgers announced Sasaki is returning to the starting rotation in 2026, but scouts aren't sure he can handle it. One executive said, "The situations and workloads of the rotation and the bullpen are so different, the unknowns might outnumber the knowns." Translation? What worked in relief for 3 weeks might not work as a starter for 6 months. And remember, Sasaki's never thrown more than 130 innings. MLB starters are expected to throw 180 to 200. If the Dodgers try to stretch him out, his arm might give out again. If they limit him, they're not getting what they paid for. It's a lose-lose. But here's the thing that makes this story so tragic. Roki Sasaki knows his body is fragile. That's why he signed at 23 instead of waiting until 25 for the big payday. In his press conference, he said, "You hear many voices that say I should have waited 2 more years, but there are, of course, no guarantees about my condition in those 2 years." He knew. He knew his shoulder was on borrowed time. He knew he couldn't risk waiting. And one doctor had already recommended Tommy John surgery back in Japan. Sasaki refused. So here's the scary truth about Roki Sasaki that MLB scouts are whispering about. He might be the most talented pitcher Japan has ever produced. His splitter might be the best pitch in baseball. His fastball at 102 with movement is the stuff of nightmares. But his body can't handle what his arm can do. 4 years in Japan, never more than 130 innings. 1 year in MLB, 8 starts before his shoulder gave out. Scouts call him a number 1 starter with ace potential. But they also say the only thing holding him back is durability. And when a 23-year-old pitcher with 80-grade stuff signs for $6.5 million instead of waiting 2 years for $300 million, when he pitches through shoulder pain without telling anyone, when his velocity drops 8 miles per hour mid-season, you start to realize the truth. This isn't a story about a phenom breaking into MLB. It's a story about a clock that's already ticking. And nobody, not the Dodgers, not the scouts, not Sasaki himself, knows how much time is left. If this story made you think differently about Roki Sasaki, or if you just love deep dives into the players and stories that don't make SportsCenter, make sure you're subscribed to Foul Ball. Drop a comment with your prediction. Will Sasaki become an ace, or will his body betray him? And as always, thanks for watching.